Video 5, in and around Old Lhasa. Ramoché Temple was built at the same time as the Jokhang, roughly in the middle of the 7th century. It houses the dowry of Songtsam Gampo's Nepalese wife. This is another Shakyamuni bronze that attracts countless devotees. I have an especially fond memory of Ramoché Temple. When in the queue to pay my respects to the bronze, crowds jostled up against me, and then soon came along a young Chinese man who was beaming at the bronze. He recognized my little group of foreigners as sharing his reverence and asked, "Isn't Tibetan Buddhism wonderful?" It was a welcomed and delightful countermeasure to the Han supremacy so often on display in the People's Republic. I said, "Indeed, it is, my friend," as his face lit up in a shining smile. The positive energy of that exchange has stayed with me ever since, like a mindfully executed spin of a prayer wheel. On the southeast turning of the Barkor is a 7th century stone shrine to the female guardian protectress, Palden Lhamo. The Palden Lhamo Lakang is decorated with prayer flags, a pot-bellied incense burner, and carvings on its exterior wall. The statue of Palden Lhamo can be seen within by peering through the 2 windows, but there's no doorway into the shrine. The image was originally placed at the entrance of the Jokhang, but was moved here to prevent flooding. By looking upriver, Palden Lhamo presumably uses her powers to intimidate the Nagas in the Lhasa River into behaving, since they are keen to flood Lhasa and retrieve the Jowal from human ownership. The shrine used to be enclosed on 3 sides by the Surkang mansion, a finely constructed 19th century nobleman's house. Sadly, it was torn down and replaced with an awkwardly modern department store in the 1990s. The new construction cramps the appearance of the shrine, ruining the former sense of architectural harmony between the 2 buildings. It is best to close one eye, squint with the other, and limit the scope of your view to the shrine. The guardian protectress bravely carries on as best as she can. She is worth a moment of thoughtful reflection. Next to the main entrance of the Jokhang are several willow trees. These are replacements for a sacred tree ripped down by the Red Guards during the 1960s. The original willow had an ancient pedigree. It was called Jo Utra, or in English, the Buddha's hair. It was planted by one of the wives of King Songtsam Gampo. In the early 20th century, foreign visitors praised how the tree's enormous branches luxuriously shaded the plaza immediately in front of the temple. It gave passers-by the serenity found in settings connected to an ancient past. Tibetans also believe willows are pleasing to the earth spirits, which is why they figure in folk culture so frequently. The condition of the Jo Utra was a source of omens. In 1924, a storm tore off several large branches. The Lhasa government ordered the broken branches to be tied back on the tree to avert bad fortune. Monasteries held religious ceremonies for the same purpose. These efforts failed, at least temporarily, when during the Cultural Revolution, the venerable willow was attacked as a feudal relic, obstructing the path for the new China. Red Guards wrecked the most beautiful of all trees. Only the naked trunk of this living shrine now towered into the skies, interpreted by Tibetans as Buddha's warning finger. In the 1980s, the local authorities planted new willows as a substitute for this mindless vandalism. I hope these trees will last for another cycle of 1,000 years, like their predecessor, as a pithy warning finger to the authorities. At the foot of one of Lhasa's hills is Sanja Gudong, a massive granite rock face 20 meters tall and 50 meters long, with countless Buddhist carvings. The oldest of these are said to have been commissioned by Songtsam Gampo, though most date from the 17th century. The largest is the Blue Medicine Buddha, Sangye Menla, who provides relief to the sick and the pain-stricken. During his 1983 return visit to Tibet, the Austrian author Henrik Harrer wrote that these cliff-face rock carvings were the only place in Lhasa where he could, momentarily, glimpse the old Lhasa of his memories. Alas, time has not been kind to Sanjal Gudong, even in the passage of the 4 decades after Harrer's final visit. The cleft face used to be open to the outer circumambulation circuit that passes by, but it has since been closed. Lumbering trucks speed by the other side of the wall. Across from the cliff face, an assortment of shops sell Buddhist devotional items. Those fleeting impressions of faith feel diluted. On the other side of the wall, there's a military camp where non-commissioned officers shout harsh commands to their troops in crisp Mandarin Chinese.